Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. You have just tuned in to Women's AM. This morning I'm joined by Sister Afia, Sister Nusrat, and our guest this morning is Fauzia Razvi. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Fauzia. Jazakallah khair for being on the show again. It's always, lovely to have you here. Alhamdulillah.
It's my pleasure to come here.
And to take time out of your busy schedule, because I understand you're very, very busy with various activities at the masjid.
Yes,
I know you've got lots of dawah projects, but you've also recently taken part in a really interesting kind of community outreach project. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Last month we had an interfaith walk, and we walk all Lusham from the synagogue, because it starts from the synagogue, then the civic suite in Lusham, then our masjid, then a Gujwara there, a Hindu place, and then we went to the police station. And we had some MPs, some councillors. and mashallah, we have lots of people, and we were surprised with the number. And we stopped in our masjid to have something to eat there, and mashallah, it was packed. We had 400 people from all religions. Alhamdulillah.
Excellent.
And in the beginning of Ramadan, we had the interfaith that we invite people to have iftar with us. So everyone with the family that are non-Muslim, or any neighbors who are non-Muslim, also the councillors and the MPs, they came as well.
I think that's so fantastic, because obviously as a Riva, I have lots of sort of family and friends that are non-Muslim, and it's really nice to be able to demonstrate to them what it's like and how much we enjoy it. Because I think sometimes they think that we dislike Ramadan, that it's like a month of punishment or something. So it's nice for them to see that actually we love it, and every single evening is a celebration, as well as the sort of spiritual side of it as well. So fantastic initiative. I really, really love that one. Without further ado, let's go straight to her views, where today we are discussing how to attain and maintain taqwa. We often believe that those who display an outward observance of Islam have the highest taqwa. However, taqwa, or God consciousness, is a quality that goes beyond the outer appearance of a person. There are a variety of ways in which we can build our piety individually or as an ummah. What is most important, however, is being able to maintain consistency when pursuing taqwa. Today we aim to explore the qualities of taqwa and how you can work on your own personal journey in maintaining high levels of taqwa. And of course, this is a live show, so please do call in to share your comments or ask your questions. The number is on your screens now, or why not tweet us at Islam Channel, #WAM15. So Sister Fauzia, I'm going to come to you first. I think this is a really great topic, and the reason I think it's so fantastic is unfortunately sometimes there is a little bit of confusion around the definition of taqwa. So can you give us, I know there's not much time, it's such a huge topic, but can you give us a kind of brief rundown on how we should be defining taqwa, how we should be understanding it?
Simply taqwa from wiqaya, and it means that we have a barrier between us and the wrongdoing, or a barrier that keep us from Allah's anger. So, and taqwa can mean also we do everything that Allah enjoined, whether it is mubah or fard, anything Allah enjoined. Mubah means Allah permitted, and it's all right to do. And avoiding everything that's forbidden, whether it's makruh or whether it is haram. Makruh means Allah doesn't like or dislike. Even avoid things that you are in doubt. Taqwa means that you avoid things even if you are in doubt. And Imam Ali karamallahu wajhahu, he said taqwa hiya al-khawf min al-jalil. It means fear from Almighty Allah, al-amal bit-tanzil, apply the teaching of the Quran and Sunnah, ar-rida bil-qalil or az-zuhd, which means it means please with the little that you have, al-istidad li-yawm al-rahil, prepare for the day that you leave this dunya. This is Imam Ali. And Ibn al-Jawzi said that taqwa is the sum of everything good. So taqwa basically is like an internal compass towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to come nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we can say taqwa is righteousness, taqwa is God consciousness, and every aspect of your life, no matter what's the consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've given a really kind of clear rundown as to how we should understand this, and also a kind of hint towards the kind of behaviours that are going to help us to attain and maintain this. So often when people are asked about taqwa, we hear this, it means fear Allah, isn't it? Have we heard that? Yeah, and I think there's so many kind of issues with explaining it in just that kind of such a crude fashion. So, Sister Afia, how is this different to how we normally perceive or normally understand this word taqwa?
No, I think it's very important to kind of highlight what Sister Fauzia said, that it's from, it means taqwa comes from the root of wiqaya, which means to shield and protect yourself. So we're protecting ourselves from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His wrath, and you know, shielding ourselves with this barrier of good deeds, and you know, doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed us. How I think people usually view taqwa is this outward, like you mentioned before, outward appearance. You know, do we observe the Islamic dress codes? Do our men have beards, etc.? And I think we need to understand that taqwa is a lot more comprehensive than that. There's a lot more to it. And like you said, it's very crude to just kind of simplify it to such a small thing as fear of God. I mean, fearing Allah means that you recognize that you do not want to incur His wrath, and you love Allah and you hope in His mercy too. So to kind of take away the hope from this element, I don't think it's fair.
And I think as well, the reason I kind of dislike this, you know, taqwa means fear Allah, it kind of gives us the wrong understanding of Allah and His qualities and our relationship with Allah. It's like He's this, you know, vengeful creator that you know, it doesn't demonstrate all these, you know, other qualities such as love and mercy that we see in abundance. So I think it can be quite damaging in lots of ways when we kind of hear it described in that manner.
Yasmin Mujahid was saying, when you love someone, you don't want them to get angry, and you don't want them to be far away from you. So this is the relationship between you and Allah. It's the relationship of love. So you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He loves you in return, because if you are muttaqi, Allah loves you, and Allah with you all the time. So you worry that you don't want to make Allah upset with you, and it's not worth it. Life is too short, too limited. It's not worth it.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really comprehensive understanding of how we understand that fear. It's, you know, it's not fear in you know, kind of derogatory term. It's a really lovely way that you've explained it there.
If you find Allah, you lose nothing, and if you lose Allah, you find nothing.
Absolutely, absolutely, mashallah.
Very good conversation with Umar radiallahu an and Ka'ab, where where Ka'ab asked Umar radiallahu an, you know, have you ever traversed a thorny path? And Umar radiallahu an replied with the affirmative. And then Ka'ab asked him, so how do you do that? And he goes, I think at that time they used to wear thobes and cloaks, and he said, I gather all of my my loose flowy clothing, and I make sure to walk through the path unscathed. And that's when Ka'ab said, this is what it is to walk on this journey, to be on this journey, to attain taqwa, is to walk through this dunya unscathed by sin, and to have that protection around you. And I think it's really important to understand how to actually attain taqwa.
Absolutely. I think what a beautiful description. Jazakallah for sharing that story. It's a really lovely one. It's a really lovely one. I think obviously being in the month of Ramadan, you know, famously in Surah Baqarah, in verse 813, I'll read it to you. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed as it was prescribed to those who came before you, that you may become al-muttaqun, the ones with taqwa. So Sister Nusra, how exactly does fasting instill taqwa within us?
Well, we see that fasting instills taqwa in a variety of ways. For example, it's a form of spiritual purification. We find that through the abstinence of food, and even abstaining from things that are generally displeasing to Allah, we have that opportunity to also raise our spiritual station, raising our level of piety. So we find this is mentioned in a deeper level through people like Al-Ghazali, that talks about the 3 levels of fasting, or in his book, The Inner Dimensions of Fasting. We find that the first level is abstention of food, then there's a special fast from abstaining from things that are, in terms of sight and auditory, things that are displeasing to Allah, abstaining from that, and then the third station of abstaining from thoughts. So you're abstaining in the sense that you're trying to detach yourself from things that have that draw you, distance you from Allah. So that's one thing, spiritual purification. We find that also it's a means of protection, as previously mentioned, but what are we exactly protecting ourselves from? We're protecting ourselves from the issues of our desires, which we find in our society today. Many people have taken their desires to literally be their own God, in the sense of they're a slave to that. So we find that through fasting, you're in a form of physical training to make sure that your heart has control over your body, not the other way around. So we had last week we had a heat wave, right, at 36 degrees, and it was very difficult.
Fantastic, you know, very comprehensive explanation, and inshallah we will come back to this after a break, but we do have to go for a quick break now, but inshallah we will return. Just before we go, here's a reminder of this week's competition.